It's one Crookshank, one and only. Most certainly, speaker checking in for a daily. Most certainly, thought giving you a perspective on teamwork. You will not get anywhere else. We do not teach how to rise to the occasion, folks. No, we teach at a faulty level of preparation. Tell you, today the plan was 6 miles. I ended up doing 7. Not because I necessarily wanted to do an extra mile, but because I actually did get lost. I got lost. I went on a route that I don't normally go on. Ended up going somewhere else, and I had to get on the GPS and figure out how to get back and all that kind of stuff. So it was a venturous one, and I'm gonna have to call it probably a life a little shorter than normal today, which is why got to jump on these. So that way you understand what today's Make Your Move Monday. Make Your Move Monday kickoff question is. You already see it. What is the American dream, right? I'm recording this the Monday after the Super Bowl win. Another team has been crowned Super Bowl champions. Congratulations, Seattle Seahawks, for a dominant, an absolute dominant performance that easily, I mean, you blink, that shit could have been easily 42-0 if they would have capitalized early on in the touchdowns and not settle for field goals. So shout out to the Patriots for, nothing up on the defensive side of the ball to keep the game somewhat close going into the fourth quarter. But truthfully, Seattle easily better team hands down. And congrats to them, not no real superstars on that team. You had Sam Donald, who's been a journeyman, and it was the kind of performance that football is really meant to be. With all the politics swirling around it, it was beautiful to see a game that was played on the field, and it was a team win, ultimate team win. That's what the game is always going to be. I told you guys that a couple of days ago. Like, look, no matter all the politics and all the shit swirling around, the conversation is going to be about the halftime show and what was right, what was wrong. The game always shows, hey, it's the greatest platform, greatest thing in the world, right? It's all out. However you want to get it, we can get it. It's all out. However you want to get it, we can get it. That's the way football works, man. That leads me into today's Make Your Move Monday kickoff question is, what is the American dream, folks? What is the American dream? The American dream is something, and then we'll dive into the topic a little more heavily throughout the entire week. But throughout this weekend, probably the best part of our weekend, to be honest with you, was watching that Megyn Kelly and Vice President J.D. Vance, watching that interview, because it was about a year and a half ago now where President Trump announced J.D. Vance as his running mate. A guy I really didn't know anything about him. When I did my own research on him, that Megyn Kelly interview from 2017 popped up, and I gained a ton of respect for him just off that alone and off the things that he has lived through to get to that point, no matter how many excuses you like to make. Again, I know I'm a Michigan fan, he's an Ohio State guy, all that kind of stuff, but, when it comes to showing the American dream and real leadership, that is a person that I want in office. That is the person you want to lead this country. That is the person, that's the kind of standards that you should be setting for yourself. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, whatever it is, I'm a centrist. I'm, again, the person that see both halftime performances. I love what Bad Bunny did, and I love what Turning Point USA did. I love them both for the reasons that they were able to give. One showed a great deal of pride in his culture, and the other one showed, hey, they love their country too. Nothing wrong with either one. That's the way it's supposed to work. And when it comes to you, to answer the question for you, the American dream is simply, hey, I'm not into excuses. I'm not into excuses when you realize, hey, time is not on your side. Time is happening. The head coach, Mike McDaniel, won a Super Bowl. He's only a year older than me. Only a year older than me. When it hits you and you realize how fast life moves, hey, you got to put the body of work. You got to go out there and put the body of work that you need to be putting in for you to go and achieve great things. The American dream is made available for every single person out there, as long as you get away from the damn excuses and you go after your shit. So, again, I got a lot more to say on this. Make sure you stay tuned, like, comment, subscribe, share this out. I'm going to jump in the shower real quick and then jump on the live stream, and we'll do a deeper dive on this very topic. Main website to check out to dive deeper into all my work, all things employee development. It's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamope.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs.
It's one Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We'll talk more soon. Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever you feel in the time of day that you are tuning into this evergreen material. Again, let me reintroduce myself to anybody that's new to this platform, new to my world, new to what we're all about here. My name is Aswan Crookshank. I am your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, current 6-time published author and educator. This whole brand, this whole concept, this whole platform has been built off it's basically what I did as I took the innovative teamwork lessons that you learned on the football field and I applied them to businesses and business owners so they have a staff and or a group of employees that moves as efficiently, as coherently, as progressively, as that mentality, that dog, that a passion to them, the same kind of passion that you would see in a championship high school or youth football team. And it was on full display. And I more so am focused on building a business that moves like a championship high school or football team. But what we saw on display was a collection of that, right? We saw on display yesterday with the Super Bowl is a ultimate team win, a team win. You can't name maybe more than 2 or 3 players on the entire Seattle Seahawks team, unless, of course, you're a diehard fan of the team. But you watched a group, you watched a unit, you watched a defensive performance that nutted up. And again, shout out to the Patriots because they did play well defensively. But that game could have easily been 42 zap. It could have been an absolute ass kicking very, very easily had the Seahawks capitalized some of those early field goals that they tried. So, all that being said, again, I woke up a little later and you heard on the run. I can't believe I actually got lost. I got lost because I went on a different route. And, I was so lost in the music, so lost in the route. That I ended up going somewhere else, and I started the live stream a little, 40 minutes later than I planned on starting it. But it is what we did. It is what it is, man. We're here to adjust and we're here to grind. So, all that being said, first and foremost, main website to check out to dive deeper into everything I'm all about. It's makeyamove.com. It's MAKEYAMOVE.com. Make sure you go and check out the shop there. Get yourself an order. Get yourself a copy of the newest book that is coming out. I sort of pushed it back, seeing that it's a different world for us authors, but it is available for pre-order, and the print will be ready within I'll give it sometime around the summer, maybe going from spring to summer as we get into camp season. And, you got a lot of athletes that are looking for that transition. So this is what it's all about. And if you do want to get a sample of my writing, this is why I do the Medium articles every single day, because this book is going to be a relevant book. It's not going to be something that you just take, you put down, and you never know. That's not the way this book's going to work. It's going to be actually a collection of my Medium articles, so that way you actually have a physical copy of it, and then just tweaked a little bit so it's in the physical format, all that kind of stuff. So I'm utilizing ChatGPT, utilizing the AI to make sure book number 6 is a success. And that's what we're all about. You learn from the mistakes you may have made in your previous situations, your previous ventures, and then you just simply keep applying them and keep on figuring it out. And that right there, just saying that brings me to the topic of today's Make Your Move Monday kickoff question and the theme for the week. What is the American dream? What is exactly the American dream, man? The idea of talking about this and posing the question was sparked by that very thing you see on the screen. That is Vice President J.D. Vance and Megyn Kelly, 2017. I'm going to make a snapshot. This is them, 2017, giving an interview, and this was them. Let's see if it should pop up. Yeah, here it is. Give it a second. It's going to pop up in a second. And this is them now. Listen to me. This is not no bullshit. This is them in 2017. Okay, giving an unbelievable interview that revealed a lot. And then this is them just this past weekend. One's in vice president. The other one's running her own thing, not working for NBC. It is amazing to see that stuff. So when I made sure, let me show it to you. I consume a lot, but I don't get a chance to consume material that is this long. But it's one of those things where I actually had to save it. I had to save it on my phone. And I wanted to listen to the whole thing, because to see those two sitting down across from each other, knowing the 2017 interview was actually the first time I've ever even knew who J.D. Vance was. It wasn't, like I said in the video, it wasn't until President Trump announced him as his running mate, I didn't know who he was. And then I watched this interview and I gained a ton of respect for everything he's lived through, everything he's about. And then to see that go on the day of the Super Bowl it was like, that's the American dream, baby. That's the American dream. And you got to think, so I grew up in the DMV. I grew up in Maryland. So I was around politics, football, sports, business, politics. That's what I grew up around. That's what I know. That's where I established my expertise. That's just what I grew up around, the environment I grew up around. So whenever you see sports and business and politics kind of merging together, when you like the way you see it during the Super Bowl, I'm all ears, especially seeing that now the season's ended. We gotta get to a point now where go through that football withdrawal for a couple of weeks, and then it's basketball season, and then summer's here, and then boom, football's right back. So it's not going to be a whole lot of time before we get football games back. It just isn't. So all that being said, let me jump into the article and get into the question. What is the American dream? All right, so there's a day most real football people dread every year, the day after the Super Bowl. Not because the game was bad. It wasn't a bad game. It's because the season does not because the season didn't deliver, but because we now have to sit through a few long weekends with no football at all. So I'm writing this just hours. So I wrote this like literally hours before the kickoff. So I wasn't able to yet break down the game the way I was able to break down the game on today's Move Swiftly Thought, where it was just simply, look, the Seattle Seahawks defense nutted the fuck up. That's what they did, right? And I definitely can't measure the temperature, especially like this hour in the morning. I can sort of feel it a little bit because I've seen a few posts and a few videos this morning, but you can already see where the conversation's going in regards to the halftime show with Bad Bunny and Turning Point. You can already see where people are swaying. It's left, right. It's becoming more of a decisive conversation versus what I said this morning, which is, hey, I loved what Turning Point USA did, and I also really, really loved what Bad Bunny did. Both of them, I thought, did great jobs and great performances. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is you're going to see thousands of people out there give their take, and it's like you got to pick a side, which is bullshit. That's bullshit. You don't have to pick a side, but that's going to be what happens. So, but history tells us that part's coming. So last year didn't make. Yeah, so last year, again, I'll go back to last year. It didn't take long to notice the narrative gymnastics, right? You have the vocal left. You have the vocal left, still very much in denial. This is what I remember last year. So last year, you had the vocal left, like woke people on the left who were in denial. They were in denial that President Donald Trump was back in office, and they rushed to justify what many of us, especially me, saw as a weak Kendrick Lamar performance by claiming it was some kind of political statement. This is what people like these diehard woke left people that they're always blaming Trump for everything, or President Trump for everything. This is what they were saying to me last year. They're like, yeah, man, he cooked Trump, man. He showed Trump what's up. He showed Trump, which was stupid to me. So he showed up Trump by wearing bell-bottom jeans and making the highlight of the entire performance a diss track aimed at Drake. So another black man going on another black man was the thing that showed up Trump. What the fuck that got to do with Trump? That made no sense. Yeah, I'll show him, right? This year, the options look like Bad Bunny turning off the TV entirely and pulling up, or YouTube, Turning Point USA, posting care about. I'm genuinely curious to see how it lands. Again, I've sort of already said what is going to be said because I could already feel it based on what was happening during the damn performance. I was watching the game with Seahawks fans. There was like a Seahawks fan group that I was around, and there were people literally they didn't give a shit about the game. It just came. I mean, you have people coming in there just partying, just waiting to halftime and just getting it in. And that part I love because I'm a big fan of Hispanic women. So whoever the Hispanic women are, I'm good with that. So that part I was good with. But really, again, it's all going to be based on your interpretation of where you live. So all that being said, I knew that today was going to be a great question and something that would be great to clearly define for anybody that doesn't really know, right? Because I didn't even know before I wrote this. So I've really been able to define it the way I'm going to define it for you now. The question is, what is the American dream? All right. Google defines it, and it's a good definition. Google defines the American dream as the foundational U.S. ethos coined by historian James Truslow Adams in 1931, asserting that prosperity, success, and upward mobility are achievable for anyone through hard work, regardless of background, rooted in the Declaration of Independence, promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It emphasizes equal opportunity, freedom, and individual initiative. Right there. Take it, screenshot it, make sure you write that down somewhere. I don't give a shit where you come from, what your background is, who you know, how bad things have gotten. This right here is available for everybody. This right here is where we gotta go. This right here is available for everybody. Understand this? Go watch it, and I'll send you the links here. But this interview versus this interview shows it does not matter where you come from. Because what the world likes to do, again, and what we're going to see throughout the social media this entire week, probably might extend longer than that, is you're going to see a bunch of people trying to divide us. You're going to see a world in which people are trying to divide you. You're going to say, oh, you either like Bad Bunny or you went to Turning Point USA. You either red or you either blue. You either rocking with Trump or you're not rocking with Trump. You're gonna see it when you watch the game of football and you break down the game of football. And you realize, hey, man, this is a team that we all live in a great country. And that I was actually listening to Robert Kraft. I was listening to Robert Kraft and how he was talking, not the head coach, but the owner of the New England Patriots. And he was talking to two of his former guys that are now working for NBC, Devin McCourtney and Rodney Harrison. And he was saying, hey, man, look, this game is the only place, or sports in general, is the only place where you get people showing up that are not divided. You get people showing up, being a part of something, whether you're rooting for that team or you're rooting for this team. Hey, you're there watching it. You guys having a great time. You're having fun. Again, that's the way it was meant to be. And you're never going to get something like that because the world tries to divide us in so many ways. This right here, I'm going to read it again for you so you have a clear understanding. What is the American dream? It is the foundational U.S. ethos coined by historian James Trudeau Adams in 1931, asserting that prosperity, success, and upward mobility are achievable for anyone through hard work, regardless of background. Rooted in the Declaration of Independence's promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It emphasizes equal opportunity, freedom, and individual initiative. That's textbook answer. This weekend, and I won't play the video because I don't want to get demonetized there. But I watched an interview. JD Vance, Vice President JD Vance and Megyn Kelly, as I mentioned. And watching this was absolutely a pleasure. It was absolutely a pleasure. I know I've said it, but I want to make sure I re-emphasize it. I'll be honest, the first time I've ever heard the name JD Vance, and I looked him up, and I wish I could play it for you, but I don't want to get demonetized. But pretty much the internet. But go watch it for yourself. I strongly recommend you go watch it for yourself. But the part of the interview starts with him talking about how. Matter of fact, I'll read it for you. Let me read it for you. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So in that back then, public office wasn't guaranteed. It wasn't even close. It was Megyn. Yeah. So it was at the beginning of this interview. I recommend you go watch the full thing. It's worth the time. It definitely is worth the time. But back then, public office wasn't guaranteed. It wasn't even something that he thought about doing. I think he had his first child on the way, and he had just gotten known for the book he wrote and stuff like that. But it was just an idea. So Megyn Kelly pressed him hard about his upbringing, about parents torn apart by drugs and alcohol, about abuse, instability, and chaos, all of that stuff he was raised in, a kid from Ohio. And what struck me most was how completely he erased one of the laziest stereotypes in modern discourse. Right here is what really struck me about Vice President J.D. Vance. This stereotype that I see, and I see Black people trying to make the stereotype every single day. This is unfortunately what my people, the people that look like me, unfortunately what holds us back every single day is the stereotype that I'm getting ready to tell you. And unfortunately, you get a lot of great white people tons of great white people out there that can't say it, but I'm going to say it for them. In fact, just yesterday, I didn't even know this was the truth. I didn't even know that there was a Black national anthem, which is stupid, fucking stupid. It makes no sense. And let me tell you, I'm not one of those, I wouldn't go as far as to say I'm a Whitlock or a Brandon Tatum that you can kind of sense that they're always going out of their way to call out Black people and to call out the bullshit that Black people do. I wouldn't say I'm that far, but I listen to them a lot, trying to figure out why they do it. And when you see bullshit like the Black National Anthem, you start to realize why there are Black folks out there that would get the feeling that they're going out of their way to call out Black people, because this shit it's got to stop. Something got to stop. It's not helping us when we decide to create this separation bullshit. It is not a helpful situation for the Black folks that live. It just isn't. It's bad. It's a bad thing. It's not good. Right? So the stereotype is that just because you're white, you don't experience hardship. That's the stereotype. That's unfortunately the stereotype. That interview destroys that lie. Like this interview right here made me really want to put President Trump in office, because I had such a respect for the individual and what he lived through. Again, I'm a Michigan fan, diehard Michigan fan, so we'll move the Ohio State stuff aside. The story and the fact that he's an author, and the fact that I was able to relate to him in so many different ways, from a just, hey, venture capitalist wanting to come up and do some great things. I loved it. I absolutely loved that he destroyed that stereotype, so we can all start working together, whether you're Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, doesn't matter. We're all working together to achieve great things, because that is the American dream. There's enough room. There's enough room. If you bust your ass and you work hard and you figure it out, you have opportunities to live a very, very damn fruitful life when you look at people like this, as opposed to the other candidate who was only trying to divide us and make it so you're only voting against Trump, right? And all that. Okay, we won't bring her up because I'm gonna get too off topic. So, despite everything stagnating, he built something good. Education, influence, responsibility, leadership, not overnight, not without scars, but with intention. And that right there is the American dream. Right there, from this sentence here, what is the American dream, all the way down, boom. If this fucking kid from Ohio can do it, that was raised in such a mess, there's absolutely no excuse why you can't get your ass going and get something done, right? And here's the part that hit home for me, and I'll close you guys out soon, because I see I'm working on keeping. I woke up a little later today, so I gotta get going. And here's the part that hit home for me. This year, I'm only 5 years. This year, again, I'm only 5 years younger, not just this, but I'm only 5 years younger than JD Vance. And for the first time, I can genuinely feel the dream I have getting closer. Not because of hope, but because of work. And there were so many things that I'd envisioned I was going to be doing by the time I got to this age, that I was so far off. Like, what I was dreaming, what I was going after in terms of where I wanted to be was laughable. It's comical to think about it right now when you see what's ahead of you. You got intellectual property all out the place. I mean, I Googled, listen, yesterday I wrote a post. I put a post out there about the White Oak Warriors. I just Googled the White Oak Warriors youth football. I was the first video that came up. Again, when you put your body of work out there, you can be happy with your progress because you're actually doing something. You don't get to this age. It was that, and I was another video I was watching. I can't remember who it was. Yeah, Wallow put a post out there saying, look, bro, your 20s and your 30s, you got to grind. Your 20s and your 30s, you got to grind. From those 2 decades of your life, it got to be all grind mode. If you settle too soon, hear me, I'm going to pull it up again. 20s and 30s, you got to fucking grind. Those 2 decades of your life got to be spent in grind mode, plain and simple. So that way your 40s gets here and it's like, I did it. But if you want to mess around, you want to bullshit, and you want to do a lot of things that are going to be detrimental to the future, in your 20s and your 30s, and make major things that you're going to have to spend the rest of your life really recovering from, hey, you making the decision. But you've been warned. You've been warned. So many people that I listen, so many people that I consume and work with, and are able to listen to, have said that same thing. Your 20s and your 30s, gotta grind. I got 3 more years left in my 30s, so it's like now really take off, baby, take off. Really, at that home stretch where it's time to take the fuck off, and you can feel it, you can hear it, you can see it in my voice. You can go back to video number 1 on this very channel and listen to me now, and you're like, okay, coming, boy. And that's what it's all about. So, all right, let me finish out. So, anyway, only 5 years younger than JD Vance. And the first time I can genuinely feel, all right, so look at the body of work, been able to publicly display the consistency, the lessons learned, the hard way, the hard lessons I had to learn, the systems built after the mistakes I've made. It no longer looks abstract. So when people ask, what is the American dream? The answer is already there. The better question, here's the better question, the macro part of the question, and we'll dive into this on Top 5 Tuesday tomorrow, but can you still achieve it? And the answer is a resounding yes, but only if you're willing to do what most people won't. Tomorrow, Top 5 Tuesday, I'll break down the 5 things required to achieve the American dream. Not the hypothetical, but practical. Most importantly, we'll talk about this. You must distance yourself. The most important part, and I can't wait till tomorrow to get to this one, but the most important part of all of this is you got to distance yourself from people who benefit. You must distance yourself from people who benefit personally or emotionally from keeping things divided. This right here is big. Because these propagandists, these woke leftists, they do a really, really good job of doing this bullshit. They are fucking masters at doing this shit. They keep things divided because of the emotional and personal benefit that they get from it. But we'll dive into all that tomorrow. All right. So for now, sit with the question: what does the American dream look like when you stop arguing about it and start building it? Still moving, still working, still believing in ownership over outrage. Action step again. MakeItMove.com. All things employee development by making it so you have a business that moves like a championship high school or youth football team. Everyone out there, you guys could, again, tune in, like, comment, subscribe, share this out. Tune in tomorrow for our Top 5 Tuesday. We'll break down those 5 steps. Everyone out there, you guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.